Welcome to Full-Time Live on the Fulhamish YouTube channel, on the Fulhamish Facebook page, or the Fulhamish Twitter account, wherever you're watching us today. Looking back at that devastating defeat to West Ham, 1-0 defeat at the London Stadium today. And I think there's only one place to start, and that's that last-minute penalty that we got given via VAR for Said Benrahma's challenge on Tom Cairney just inside the box. You know, if we're looking at it, that's 2 penalties we missed this season, and realistically, we scored both of them. That's an extra 4 points for us, and we'd be looking a lot more safe in the table. But Jack, it's just devastating, isn't it?
I've got no words, honestly. One, why would you Panenka it in the 90th minute? 2, it's a penalty. He gets clipped. I knew it was going to get overturned when the referee went to the monitor. But why? I don't know what to say. Honestly, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he's just attempted that in the last minute. It's all right if we're 3-0 up. We're not 3-0 up.
Dara, do you think, looking at Mitrovic and Cairney, that maybe those two should have taken more ownership and put the penalty in there just because they're more experienced players? I know Mitrovic has missed one this season and Cairney's not a usually penalty taker, but, our two main players, and, Cairney had a very good game again, which we'll get into, but do you think maybe one of them two should have stepped up to take it? Or do you think, Lookman's been good ever since he's come in and it was his chance to get a point for us?
Well, that's what I was expecting. I thought that it would have been one of Cairney or Mitrovic to take it. I thought probably Mitrovic had maybe even a bit of a point to prove, try to redeem himself from the missed penalty. And they're 2 of the more senior players in the squad. It was 2 of the more experienced players in the squad. I definitely thought that one of those should have taken it. In saying that, the penalty, I don't know what the hell is going on there. Just pick a side, just slot it in. Man, it's just...
I mean, Jack, me and you spoke about this after the Sheffield United game, that I don't know how professional footballers are taking penalties that poorly. There was the Mitrovic one where he hit the crossbar. Then you got Ademola Lookman. It wasn't even Panenka it because he sort of just divoted his foot into the ground, and it didn't even get in within a yard of the goal line pretty much. I mean, it was absolutely dreadful. When I saw him stepping up to take it, I wasn't confident. I'll definitely say that. I wanted someone like Cairney or Mitrovic, who, as Dara said, is an experienced player. And, Mitrovic would want to bounce back from that penalty miss against Sheffield United. But it went to Ademola Lookman. And even someone maybe like Loftus-Cheek could have stepped up to take it. When I saw Ademola Lookman stepping up to take it, I just wasn't confident he was going to put it in the back of a net, Jack. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, his run-up was odd. It felt like, even when he was running up, I was like, what are you doing? Just smash it, just hit it. I don't know what's going through his mind there. I don't know what's the logic thinking, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to take the riskiest technique of a penalty in the most crucial moment of the game to earn ourselves a point. It's just odd.
The thing is as well, even to take a Panenka it's less of, the odds are more against you because the keeper has to stay on the line now, and that the linesman will call that back more often than not. To just wait to see which way the keeper goes, or even just place it, pick a side and just place it. You've way more chance. Once the keeper comes off, they're just going to come back again.
He was waiting for Fabianski to commit, but he never committed. So, and
he just didn't even go anywhere. It wasn't even down the middle. It was like,
no. I don't know what happened.
I just don't understand it with penalties. For me, if I want my penalty taker, take it like Jamie Vardy does and like Billy Sharp does. Pick your place where you're going to take it and smash it in that, wherever that is, down the middle, on the left or on the right. There was no sort of commitment to where he was going, and even from his run up, I could tell I was like, what's happening? He didn't even do like a regular Panenka run up. He properly stuttered, and sort of it's like he thought where he was going to hit it, then last second decided to Panenka it. Even because if he was going to do that from the beginning, that's not how he would have taken the penalty. It seemed like to me there was a decision halfway through his run-up where he decided to try chip it down the middle. I don't know if you agree, Dara.
I don't know what he was thinking. I think, I mean, I don't know if you guys listened to that podcast with Peter Rutter, and I think it was Danny Murphy on it, and they were talking about penalties and does somebody else need to take the penalties from him? And Danny Murphy is just saying, it's just like a routine. You need to just pick a place and just go with it and don't change your mind. And that's probably what he did. He probably just changed his mind in the run-up and he's missed it. It's so frustrating. It is so, because we deserve something from that game. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll get back to the whole penalty decision and and what happened in the 90 minutes from their winner to our penalty decision. But if we start in the first half, looking at the whole game, the first 5 minutes was quite edgy. I mean, we could have been probably 3-0 down if it wasn't for, Olarina blocked it. Ariola made a couple of saves. They obviously hit the crossbar as well. Then there was the one through, obviously, Creswell's free kick in the second half as well. So, we did well to sort of calm the storm after that, Jack, and we sort of played our way into the game in the first half.
Yeah, we looked pretty comfortable after a shaky 5 minutes. We have to thank Ariola for keeping us in the game, but from there we were fine. We controlled the midfield. We played well, and we were getting Lookman down the left-hand side and weren't creating clear-cut chances as such, but at least having a go and making ourselves look like we were at least competent. But I was pleased with the first half performance. I thought we controlled. Well, I thought we managed the game quite well after the poor start. But we'll come on to the goal later. I think even in the second half as well, we kept our shape really well, and it was hard to break out at times because of West Ham's shape, which is always frustrating. You got the banks of 4 and banks of 5. Very hard to play through it, but actually we're quite a good team at playing through, and it's just not our day today. But it was encouraging. It was very similar to the Wolves game, I thought, in terms of performance.
Yeah, I thought the performance was we looked like a competent football side, and which we haven't in some games this season. This 4-2-3-1 shape that we seem to be playing in is Kearney very high up, especially in that first half. There's some times where Mitch was taken out wide and Kearney was our furthest forward player. Dara, do you think this is the shape you see Scott Parker trying to stick with for the rest of the season, or definitely for the foreseeable future? And then it depends who plays in that deep midfield positions, whether it's Reed or Anguissa or Lamina.
Yeah, I think it worked pretty well for us. Our shape was very good throughout the game. It was only in the last maybe 10, 15 minutes that we started to come deeper, and maybe we needed an extra sub just a little bit early. We just kind of tended to drift back a bit. But before that, our shape was really well. We pressed really well. Not so much the second half. I think West Ham kind of sat off us a little bit maybe in the first half, and then in the second half they started to press us a bit more. They kind of just found a little bit of joy in between the defense and the midfield. They were playing these long balls that just bypass the midfield, and I think that again, that's where the goal came from. But I think overall our shape and our defense was pretty solid, apart from that, just that one goal, just not a good clearance from Anderson, and the ball fell kindly to Haller, who squared it, and that was it. But yeah, it was a fairly solid performance, bar that one mistake, and then obviously just not taking the penalty.
Yeah, I think in a lot of other games earlier in the season, in that first 5 minutes, we probably would have conceded 1, possibly 2 goals. You just got to look at the Villa game, look at the Arsenal game, that just to see, that conceding early on against Leeds as well. So you could see that, there was definitely an improvement in there defensively and looked solid. And, we didn't have particularly many chances in that first half. But, going into halftime 0-0, I think everyone was fairly positive and fairly confident that in the second half it'd continue. In the second half, if you're talking about the main chances we did have, I mean, we didn't have loads of them, but the one chance I'm looking at is the Bobby Decordova-Reid chance, where he gets the ball and maybe could take another touch, or he just doesn't put it enough through it, and it's sort of straight at Fabianski. I said it. Although we didn't create too many chances today, I didn't feel like it was a constant bombardment of West Ham chances that I was worried about all the time. I would say the most worried I was probably in that first 5 minutes. So, Dara, do you think some credit, apart from, we'll get onto the goal later, but do you think a lot of credit has got to go to our defensive shape today?
Yeah, definitely. We had those kind of 2 banks of 4. Even in the early stages when we conceded a lot of crosses. I think it was Cresswell was whipping in some crosses, and we have this kind of half zonal marking, half man-to-man. And when the ball was coming out, like either a clearance or whatever, there just seemed to be a man at the edge of the box, and a lot of their chances tend to be from distance at the edge. So, I mean, some of them were a little bit of a dip on it. Ariola did quite well to keep it out, but in general, from open play, our defensive shape was fantastic. I don't think there was too many. I honestly I can't think of anything. Like, Robinson had the better of Kufal all game. Aina, he wasn't as attacking as obviously as Robinson, but he didn't really put a foot wrong either. I don't remember him. Like, he might let 1 or 2 crosses get in by him. I just can't remember, apart from that Anderson header towards the end, which he probably could have cleared better. That's all I can think of where we really didn't do as much as we should have done defensively. Like we were solid, and then obviously he had some weird sort of kick out in the first half on the edge of the box, which was a bit dodgy. But yeah, I thought we were really, really solid. Like we just looked comfortable throughout the game. I like even their chances, like they were all from distance. They just didn't seem to trouble us all that much, even though Areola had to make the save. There was a little bit of a swaz on them on the shot, but like I thought we were pretty comfortable throughout. So like it's just, man, it's just one that got away. It just feels like a game that got away from us.
Yeah, it's especially frustrating with obviously upcoming fixtures. You know, we play the likes of Leicester, Manchester City, Liverpool. Who it's going to be a very tough run, and these today is the way you look at it. Where we could have got a point today. So we look at the Sheffield United game where we probably should have won that game. And if we're talking about our defence, if we had this defence, if Tony Khan got these signings in before the season started, then we've been in a lot better position now than we are, Jack.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at recruitment and you can say that we haven't gelled. It's been hard to gel the Ademola and Anderson because they came in on deadline day or just before the deadline. But they've had a few weeks now to get to know each other. They played a good game, Anderson and Ademola against West Brom, and really didn't put a foot wrong today. Apart from Anderson's weak header, which caused the goal. We can keep looking back at recruitment and it will keep coming back because we'll probably be at the bottom end of the table, and it will be what people scapegoat when if we go down or whatever. But I just feel as though we looked fine. We looked competent, as I said earlier. Nothing really worried me defensively, which is good. It's just one mistake, and it's cost us. You can tell Areola was so fuming when that goal went in because we didn't get out quick enough, and it's a second ball, which really does sting. But I actually took quite a lot of confidence from that defensive performance, and I know we're going to have tougher games, we're going to have tougher opposition, but if we stick to as a unit, we can get through them. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think bar 90 minutes onwards, it was a fairly comfortable game for us. I didn't really feel that West Ham probably had more of the chances than us, but as you said, they're from outside the box. Within the box, they weren't really challenging. If they had Mikel Antonio in the side, it probably would have been a bit of a different game. But Sebastian Haller, he's not had the greatest Premier League career so far ever since he came over from Germany. So I think we handled his aerial presence fairly well. Like I said, one player actually on the Fulham team I want to talk about today was Anguissa. He was his normal self in regard to he was breaking through the lines and getting through, but he had quite a few poor touches today, and there was a couple of them which could have been pounced upon by West Ham. They weren't. There was also the chance that he had when him and Mitrovic countered towards the end, and he probably should hit it on the volley first time instead of taking that poor touch. Do you think it was an off day for him today, or do you think some of those touches were just happens, Dara?
I thought he was quieter than he usually was. He definitely wasn't breaking forward as much. I thought Reid was much the superior of the two sitting midfielders, if you could call them that, of the 4-2-3-1. He had a bit of an off day. He wasn't on the ball as much as possible, but I think part of that was West Ham almost kind of trying to bypass. They were playing these switch balls from one side to the other, trying to hit the wing backs, Kufal and Masuaku. So it kind of cut out a lot of what he did. And when we did tend to see him on the ball, it was kind of more going forward. And again, like that, there was that chance where he was played through. He probably should have hit it first time. But I mean, look, against different opposition, I think he'd be much more involved. But just the way that the tactics that West Ham employed today, he just wasn't on it as much as we would have usually seen him, or we would have liked to see him, especially dominating his power and in midfield and driving forward with the ball. I think he's like one of the most dribbles of any player in the Premier League, and he's like, that's what you want to see, him driving forward against the opposition. We didn't quite see that today.
Yeah, that because it sort of just kept sticking out to me during the match. That Anguissa wasn't at his best today. I said it was his touches that they didn't cost us, but I said that one at the end. I'm expecting a player of his quality to try at least take that on the volley. Jack, we saw Loftus-Cheek come on today for Bobby Decordova, and obviously we didn't see too much of him, but obviously it was in a more sort of a different position than we've seen him before, more in the sort of wide areas, out wide right when he came with Bobby Decordova, as opposed to in the centre. Do you think if he is going to play in this team, he's actually going to have to try find his way on the right-hand side or out wide instead of through the middle? Because I think our middle looks fairly settled with the likes of Harrison Reed, Anguissa and Tom Kearney.
Yeah, and even like Lemina can come in as well. Like he was injured, so Reed came in. But yeah, it's tough for Loftus-Cheek because he comes to a club in Fulham where you think, oh, he's going to get plenty of game time. But actually, it turns out that we're, like you said, pretty set in midfield and he doesn't fit into that three. So when he does come on, it's going to have to be in those wide areas, which is fine because I think he's played it before at Palace. I think he played in a wide area. He's got a bit of pace about him and he's a bit of athleticism about him, so he can probably break up and try and get forward. He had a chance to run at the West Ham defence, didn't do much in terms of that run, but yeah, I think we were basically playing for the draw. I think I felt so that's why we made that late change, just bringing off Reed, maybe giving us a little bit of extra energy going forward. I think Loftus-Cheek did okay. Like he wasn't on for often. He wasn't on for long at all. But going forward, he might just have to settle for coming on as a sub, even if there's an injury in midfield or again like out wide. You would have thought we brought on Caballero. We were about to actually just after they scored. But it was interesting to see that Loftus-Cheek was first choice ahead of Ivan Caballero.
Thank God.
Yeah, the least amount of time that Caballero has on the pitch possible, probably the best. But I mean, he did okay for the 2 seconds he was on the pitch. Yeah. So if we move into the extra time and when all the drama was, we look at West Ham's goal. Is it communication between Anderson and Ian? If it's the problem here, is it a poor header from Anderson? Dara, what do you think the issue was? Was it that should Aina have called Anderson or given him a shout to let him know who's there?
I haven't had a chance to look back on it, but I reckon there probably could have been a shout because I mean, if you look at our back line now, they're all pretty tall guys. They're all like 5 foot something plus. I reckon he probably thought that he could get it. Maybe he jumped thinking that, yeah, I can get this clearance, but it might have been better to have left it, or maybe he didn't get the shout coming from behind. I thought like all day we made a lot of good decisions where in previous games there was balls that we kind of shepherded out of play and just let run, whereas we would have taken a touch and tried to keep it in play, and it's really cost us. It's led to an error where we've just like tried to clear it and just kicked it back to the opposition, and they've just counted on us. And today we did well, apart from just that one. It's just one mistake, and that's really, really cost us. It's just, oh man, it's just so gutting.
What's really annoying about that is that we've got 2 weeks to sit and ponder about that penalty and that goal, which really frustrates me. I mean, we've got England game to sort of look forward to. I mean, but 2 weeks to think about Lookman Panenka-ing a penalty in the 96th minute.
I think if we had gone 0-0 or 1-1 from this game and gone into the international break, it would have just given us such a buzz and such a lift and more time for all the players to gel and Parker to establish the system going into the international break. There's now a bit of a downer. Like, I do think from looking at the squad when we play the games that they do look way more together than they did the last time that we're in the Premier League. They just look like everybody's pulling for each other and there's no passengers in the team, and there's a much more of a
cohesion.
It looks like a team.
It does look like a team. Like I said at halftime in one of the other WhatsApp groups, I said to one of the guys, if you'd never ever watched the Premier League before and you'd watched that first half of West Ham against Fulham, you would not think that Fulham were in a relegation fight the way they were playing. They looked like they deserved to be there in the Premier League.
I would say if you're looking at the game, it was two teams who were looking like they should be in similar place in the table. I'd probably say, mid-table, like 14th, 15th, 13th, or whatever. It was, it's just frustrating because, as Jack said, international break now. There's 3 England games coming up. We've got 2 weeks until we play Everton at home. And, if we had 4 points from these 2 games going into the international break, everyone been positive, then we could have, Everton, on a downturn in form. Obviously, they lost to Manchester United on the lunchtime kickoff today, and we would have been confident going into that. I'd say if we got a draw today, and Everton on the poor form they are. Jordan Pickford, he was back in goal today, and he's making mistakes. And we could have posed him a lot of problems. It's just devastating and frustrating that we've lost in the way we have. It was a mistake from us to give West Ham their goal. Whether Anderson should be heading that with more power, or whether Ina should be calling him saying he can sort that out. And then obviously the penalty towards the end when Bonrama fouls Kearney, and then obviously Lookman steps up, and I don't even know how to describe what a disgrace of an attempt of a penalty that was. And then we're going in for we got a point. We get a point away at West Ham, where we've got a very poor record. I don't think we've won there in the league since the season we first came up in 2001.
I think they said 15 games before that.
I believe we won there in an FA Cup tie, but I think 2001, 2002 was the last time we won away at West Ham in the league. So. And I've been to Upton Park many times. I went to the London Stadium last time we were in the Premier League, and we've never been great. I remember the 3-3 I think was in 05, 06 or 06, 07. But again, it would have been nice to. It would have been such a positive to get that late equaliser, but it wasn't to be. But if we go back to the penalty, Jack, when it first happened, did you think nothing was going to be given? It was just going to be waved away, or did you have an inkling that there was something here that we could have got a penalty from?
Well, actually. When we just conceded, my brother came into the room, and he had some sort of look in his eye. I was thinking something's happened here. We've either scored or there's something going on. Obviously, we had that flurry of the corner and the chance, and then the penalty decision was up in the air. And he told me, "Oh, there's a VAR check," but that's when I came up. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's so. I didn't know what to think. I thought that on replay he got clipped. It was probably definitely a penalty. Hence the referee went over to double check himself. Good decision. Really good use of VAR. We must not forget that. That's the positive of VAR. But he hasn't scored, and we come away with 0 points and not 1. And it's gonna really, really, really annoy me for like 14, 15 days now.
I think one of the really worrying things for me when we got the penalty is that no one knew who was going to take it.
No, exactly.
When you get a penalty, you want to know, right, he's taking it and he's going to score. It was like that when we had Danny Murphy. It was like that when we had Ross McCormack. It was like that when we had Dimitar Berbatov. But at the moment, it's we don't really know who's the penalty taker. I know it's because Mitrovic missed the last one, and before that, he's been on them and he's been fairly successful with them. So I thought he'd just continue on. I found it strange and weird that Lookman came up to take it. People will sort of point to Kearney's captaining ability when it comes to situations like this. Do you think you can really criticise him in that respect? Do you think Lookman do you think if someone's that confident that I'm going to be in charge of this big decision, that's you let them do it, and and Lookman's been one of the better players this season for us, and so going into it, or do you think it has to be one of the senior players and player like Mitrovic who has been taking our penalties for the last few seasons, Jack?
There must have been some sort of this is circumstantial. In the training ground, you must discuss it. If we get a penalty, who's taking it? I only think that there must have been some confusion. It's because of the timing of the penalty. It was last minute. It was like, right, we're panicking now. We need a point. Who's taking it? And look, it's Kearney's prerogative to go, he's taking it, and or Parker's from the sideline. But you can't really lay blame on anyone but Lookman, because he's the man who steps up. If you're going to be that confident to say, I'm taking it, don't chip it down the middle. Just smash it in the net, Vardy style, Billy Sharp style, like you say. People on Twitter will say this is not Kearney. This is Kearney not being a good captain, but I think you just
not for me. I mean, if you remember the Abu Kamara one, Kearney and Mitrovic and others were crowding around to try to get the ball off Kamara. In this instance, it didn't look like anyone. So there must have been something from Parker before the game even started to say that if there was a penalty, that Lookman would be the next one to take it.
Yeah, like I said, but if going back to it's just it's a disgrace the way what he's done there, because, you know, as I said, it looked like he changed his decision halfway through. He didn't look like he knew what he was doing on the run up. It wasn't even a Panenka. It was sort of he sort of divoted his foot into the ground and the ball moved towards the goalkeeper.
The point, they did rough up the penalty spot and they got yellow carded for it.
Yeah, but I mean, I think today it was just Lookman. I think Lookman is either going to get an absolute bollocking by the dressing room man from Scott Parker, and I think I'm not saying he should come out and apologise on things like that, but it is a disgrace that, you know, that would have been such a massive point for us, and you go and do that, Dara.
I don't think he needs a bollocking. I think he knows that he's let the team down, and I think for everybody to come and jump on his back now would make it worse. Like, he's still quite young.
Maybe not bollocking, but there needs to be serious words said to him that.
Yeah,
because I don't think it can be underestimated how big a point there would have been.
Yeah, but I'm sure Parker will take him aside and have words with him, and I don't think it'll be something that'll be like on front of the whole team. And
I just don't think he can get away with just having it being an arm around his shoulder situation. I think that
I'm not saying an arm around the shoulder either, but at the same time, he'll know that he's fucked up big time. Like, he'll know that he's made a mistake, and I don't think you need people to exacerbate that and make it more than it should be. He will know. He just needs to be like in a certain way taken aside and just say, right, look, this shouldn't have happened. But
Jack, if we're looking at where we go from here, obviously it's a devastating result, and, you know, we probably should have got a point out today. It was a fairly even game. There's no sort of better team in today's game. I'd say fairly even. It was a mistake that led to their goal. It was a mistake from Ben Rama that led to our penalty, and then, you know, that whatever that was from Ademola Lookman not getting us the points today. Where do you think we're at going into this Everton game?
I think we look okay. We look good. I think all about staying up is all about seeing, are there three worse teams than us? And so far, you'd have to say Burnley, Sheffield United, and West Brom, barring their result tomorrow against Tottenham, and I assume they probably won't win that, touch wood. We've been better than those three. We have a better points tally than them so far on paper. I think it's interesting because I can't quite tell who's going to be down there fighting, because Brighton look quite good, yet they haven't got the results to reflect that. Leeds have looked, apparently, like the best team in the league according to the media, but again, they're like on 8 points, I think. So, and then Newcastle, a fluky couple of late equalisers, a terrible performance last night, a good win over Everton. But where do Fulham go from here? We've got to dust ourselves down, and look, we've got 4 really, really tough games coming up: Everton, Leicester City, Liverpool. I mean, a logical person would say 0 points from that, just going off the base of the opposition. But, you know, you never know. I mean, with VAR, you just never know. You get a cheeky penalty here, a decision go your way there, and we've just basically got to keep our shape, try and keep the score down at the other end, and get. Well, obviously we need Kamara back after we've got one more game without him. Once we get Kamara back, we've got a different option off the bench. We've just got to utilise what we've got and basically just go for it. And, you know, no one's gonna say, I don't know. If we lose to City and Liverpool, no one's gonna be like, that's awful. It's expected.
Yeah, Dara, as long as West Brom don't get a result against Tottenham tomorrow, you know, there's no results that have put us in more trouble this weekend, thankfully. Do you think that's one positive we can possibly take from this weekend? That, you know, I'm not saying you can't say about destiny being in your hands or anything, but it's still in the fact that we're not getting dragged into trouble with other teams getting results this weekend.
Yeah, I still think we're in touch and distance with a few teams ahead of us. Obviously, it would have been nice to get at least a point today. A 3 would have been fantastic, but yeah, as long as West Brom don't do anything tomorrow. I mean, when we played them, I was thinking, how the hell have this team got 3 points? Because for me, they're the worst team in the league by a long distance, by a very long distance. They don't really have any standout quality players, apart from maybe Pereira, yeah. Diangana showed some glimpses, but not really consistently. And maybe Carlin Grant, you could say, is like a decent enough player, but I don't think they have enough. The only one thing that worries me, and I said it after the Crystal Palace game on the full-time live, was that I worry more about us going forward than I do about us defensively. I just, like, when we can get to the final third, we can have these nice intricate passes, but we can't seem to just create these clear-cut chances. And that's a worry for me. So going forward, I don't know if you watched the there was like a little snippet of some training in Montspur this week, and they were doing these little 1-2s, and they were trying to play these balls down the line. In the first half, there was actually, it showed that exact play, and they were trying to do it, and they were letting, like, Robinson was going down the right and then whipping the ball in. So if you go back and watch that video, it's only like 2 minutes long. And then watch the match again, the highlights. You'll see that exact play.
I'm never watching the highlights of that game ever. Never.
It's as I said, as we've been saying, it is a devastating result for us. Just in the manner it was, and we played fairly well at the back, apart from one lapse in concentration. So, but I do think there is, although we won't look at it now, but I think there are some positives to take from this game. That we said we weren't outplayed by a team who's, I think, unbeaten, bar their last game against Liverpool. Were very close against some very good teams. You know, they got that 3-3 against Tottenham. They beat Leicester. They beat Wolves. They got that point against Manchester City. So, you know, West Ham have had it, apart from that opening game against Newcastle, had a very solid start to the season. This is arguably probably the worst they've played since that, and I think credit's got to go to us, to the way we contain them, to not allow them to play that way. Obviously, it's a bit different because they're supposedly the more dominant team in this game, as opposed to when they play like a Man City or Liverpool and they're the team looking to catch them on the counter attack. But I think there is positives to take from today, performance wise. I think we played well. I think our shape was good, apart from that one mistake from Anderson and Ina. So yeah, I think going into the Everton game, but yeah, as you said, Jack, it's just annoying that it's 2 weeks away and it's not a midweek double game week, so we can get straight back into the thick of it. But yeah, I think that's all for today. I think otherwise we're just going to be going in roundabouts and talking about the penalty decision over again. And you know, I think, you know, there will obviously be the podcast coming out either tomorrow evening or Monday morning. And you know, I think the guys will be going more in depth into, you know, the tactical setup that Scott Parker deployed, and more into what's next for Fulham. But yeah, this has been the full-time live. Fulham's very devastating 1-0 defeat at the London Stadium to West Ham. I've been Don Betts. I want to say thank you to Jack Kelly.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks to Dara Curran.
Thanks all. Better luck next time.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all guys soon.